everyone is having a fantastic weekend and is ready to wrap up the weekend and get ready for an incredible week ahead. Today's class is titled Spring Training. We all know how much I love baseball, and if you don't know, then welcome to How Much I Love Baseball. But it is officially baseball season again. It is spring training time. And so I wanted to take today to focus on the what we do part of the what we think, what we eat, and what we do. Because we've spent a lot of time this past couple of months talking about the what we think and the goal setting and the planning. And we talked a lot about the what we eat a couple weeks ago. That was the back to the basics and the dreamers versus the doers. And so today I really want to talk about doing all of the things and how important it is to get the movement part of the what we eat, what we think, and what we do. So we talk so much about the formula. We know the formula for eating is the 20 to 30 grams of protein, 5+ grams of fiber, 5 to 8 grams of fat, and 10 to 15 grams of carbs or less every single time you eat. And what that does is that sets you up to have all the energy you could possibly need to get through the day. Now, most of you know I have really long days most of the time, and that's by choice. That's not out of necessity, but it's by choice because I'm working on some different projects and building some things, and so that requires a lot more sustained effort for longer periods of time. And in order to have that amount of energy, you have to be one, fueling your body correctly, but you also have to be moving your body. Because if you're not moving, it's so easy to become swollen and just that's that inflammation setting in. And as a matter of fact, I felt that way a couple of weeks ago, and it was just like, I have to do something. I've got to course correct. And I had some new things get put on my plate. And so my workouts kind of got pushed to the wayside. And even for those of us that it is a habit to work out, sometimes your workouts can get pushed to the lower on the priority list. And then that's where you have to course correct. And so that's what I did. And I've been feeling great lately. And I got to thinking about, just how quickly you can start to see the results when you start moving your body and you start doing the things that you're supposed to do. Now, you may not outwardly see a change, but I remember when I first got started on my journey, I got started because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, for one, but two, I didn't like the numbers. I didn't like how they were creeping up. But I also remember I would leave work for the day and my feet would hurt so bad. And a lot of you have heard this story before, but I think it's important to talk about because I remember that uncomfortableness of I couldn't wait to take my socks off. And I remember at one point buying bigger socks because I thought that would help, when in reality I just needed to decrease the inflammation. And so that was really probably the first thing that I noticed when I got started on my journey. After a couple of days, I didn't really have that pain in my feet anymore. And so when you're thinking about these little things we can do, when we keep our blood flowing and we keep things moving, right? We move our bodies, it leads to that decreased inflammation, whether that's yoga, Pilates, different kinds of cardio, right? Interval cardio. Is it running? Is it weightlifting? Is it a combination of all of them? And that's what I do. I do a combination of yoga, weightlifting, and cardio. And that seems to work really well for me. And I had to kind of not totally start over, but when I was looking at my cardio routine, I said, okay, we've got to rebuild it to where it's going to fit where I'm at right now. And let's just kind of shape it into what I need it to be. And that's the beauty of being in this lifestyle, right? The Put Me in Coaching lifestyle is you can always go back to the basics. You can always go back to spring training and retrain your body to do different things. And you're essentially reprogramming to say, okay, this is where my focus needs to be right now. So I need to start here and then shape it up. And that's one of the principles of behavior analysis, too, right? We give attention to the things that are going right. Behavior that receives attention is behavior that's repeated. And when we can slowly increase over time, then we're going to solidify those new habits. And so I want to talk tonight about really taking a look at what is it that you're doing, because you may be eating completely right, but I would bet, and I would say that if you're not moving your body, you're probably not making the best choices when it comes to eating, because everything goes hand in hand. When we're moving our body, we're more motivated to make better choices because we know we're going to move our body and we know we feel better when we eat better. And so it's just kind of a whole thing. Same thing goes for the what we think. When we are consuming good things in, right, we don't get into that negative headspace. And that goes back to, I've shared before, I love true crime. But I have to limit myself. So I'll listen. There's a podcast I really like that's a true crime podcast, but I can't listen to it all the time because it's negative. It's, it's morbid stuff. And so I have to limit that. And so I always start my day with the positive stuff and the personal development and all of that, because then I'm fueling my mind with good things to start with. And then, I'll take a little bit of time to listen to that, but then I go back and I listen to something else positive. And so I'm getting a little sidetracked when I talk about that, but I think it's important to understand how all three of those, and we say this all the time, but think back to when you were at your best and you felt great. It's because you were eating right, you were exercising, you were doing all the things, you were thinking positively. And so when we're talking about getting your body moving, find something you enjoy. It shouldn't be punishment. People ask me all the time, they're like, Carly, why do you drive across town to go to the gym when there's so many gyms that are a little bit closer? I'm like, because I enjoy that car ride there. That is let me get mentally focused. And then when I get to the gym, I'm ready to go. Now, it doesn't always go like that. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to get out of the car. But once I'm there, it's like, man, I've already driven. It's a little under 20 minutes if I go early in the morning, but it's like, I've already driven 15, 20 minutes to get here. I've got to go do something, right? I can't just turn around. Whereas if I were 4 or 5 minutes away, it might be easy if I didn't feel like getting out of the car to just pull right back out on the road and come on back home. And these are the things that I've put in place to make sure that I've set myself up for success. And so I enjoy that car ride to the gym in the morning. It's where I can clear my mind. I don't have to talk to anybody. I'm not responsible for answering any messages. And that's the other thing. I don't look at my text messages until I get done at the gym. I just don't, because I'm not checking text messages. I'm not checking emails. I try not to get on social media. Every now and then I will get on social media in the morning. And I'm going to tell you something. Those are the mornings where then it's even harder to make that drive or get out of the car and walk in. When I immediately put on my YouTube videos for personal development, I'm hearing, hey, listen, you just got to get it done. This is what you need to do. So I'm hearing the motivation, and it's like, well, I certainly can't roll over and go back to bed now. And that works for me. So I get up, I do my morning routine, the dance party, the cold water, and I drink nothing but water for the first thing that I drink in the morning. Even if I'm drinking some pre-workout or something like that, I always drink water first because that's a habit that I've gotten into. So I'm never drinking anything until I have at least a little bit of water first. And these are the things that I do that continue to keep me in that mode of the healthy lifestyle. Now, am I perfect? No, nobody's perfect. But these are the things that I can confidently say, hey, this is a habit for me. This is what I do. I'm going to make sure I get this in. I'm going to make sure I do that. And I feel better when I do it. As a matter of fact, when I don't work out in the mornings, that's when I start to drag. And I notice that. And so it's easy because I know how I feel when I do work out. It's a lot easier to convince myself to get up on the days that I don't really feel like getting up. Now, I was listening to a YouTube video the other day about really aligning your goals in 30-day sprints. And it got me thinking about spring training. Spring training is about 30 days. And when you think of it like that, they're preparing. They're getting back in game ready shape. Now, of course, they've done stuff in the off season, but they're getting back in game ready shape so that they can start the season off strong. And so when you think about that and you think of things in terms of 30-day sprints, you can do anything for 30 days. It's not that long. But what that 30 days does is create momentum. And then you capitalize on that momentum, and then you take off, and you are exponentially better by the end of the year, as long as you don't allow a break. So you can breathe and exhale at the end of 30 days, but not for a week. You can exhale for maybe a day and say, okay, I'm going to regroup. What's my next 30 days going to look like? Because you can do anything for 30 days. And now, while it takes 66 days to truly create a solid habit, you've got a much better head start if you do a 30-day sprint. Okay. And then guess what? If that worked really well and you're like, man, this is awesome, I see the progress, there's your motivation to do another 30-day sprint. That's all I did when I first got started in this program. I took it one day at a time, for one pound at a time, really. But I said, I can do anything for 30 days. And then at the end of that 30 days, I thought, wow, look how much further ahead I am. I can do anything for 30 more days. And I was talking to Catherine the other day, and she had called me because she wanted to know. She's like, do you remember when I had to force you to eat something off plan? What was the scenario? What happened? What did you do? And I said, well, I still had the mindset of, listen, we're running, we're going hard. But it was 3 months in that she had to say, listen, girl, you got to eat something that's not on plan because this is ridiculous. You got to do something. And so then I started allowing myself one item per week. And we've talked a lot about that. When it's really time to dial in and focus on the what you eat or the what you do, right? I'm not giving myself these whole rest days where I just lay around and do nothing. I'm still going to go do something, whether it's a 10-minute walk or maybe just a light yoga class, some stretch, something, right? That's what we call an active recovery day. So think about what your next 30 days is going to look like. And I want you to put together a 30-day sprint. So I want you to look at the calendar. Okay. So today is February 15th. Okay. So what is the next 30 days going to look like for you? So starting on February 16th. So I think that would take us to March 18th, I believe. So, what is that 30 days going to look like? And I want you to carve out whatever you're going to focus on, whether it's physical activity, whether it's your eating, whether it's your mindset, the what you think. I want you to pick one of those three things to focus on. All right. And you see where I'm going with this. In 30 more days, we're going to pick a different one to focus on. And then in 30 more days, we're going to do the third one. And by then, you will have built habits in all three of them. You can be a completely different person 90 days from now. So, what's the first one? What you eat, what you think, or what you do? What's the first one that you're going to focus on for the next 30 days? And we're going to get laser focused for 30 days. Now, if you pick the what you eat, that doesn't mean that you can't have anything off plan. What it means is that 90 to 95% of the time, you are going to eat on plan. So therefore, that other 5 to 10% of the time is still technically on plan because you are planning for it. And when you plan for it, it's still on plan. I worked in what I did. And I'll tell you what I did for those. It was 8 months and 3 days is how long it took me to lose that 115 or 113 pounds. And so what I did for that 8 months and 3 days after the 3 months when Catherine said, hey, you have to do something. So we're talking 5 months. Every week I would choose one item, and it was typically an appetizer on Friday nights. But my meal was still on plan. And that's how I got to where I wanted to be. That's how I maintained focus and maintained momentum. Okay. So really think about what you're going to do for the next 30 days. Text me, drop it in the comments, whatever it is for the next 30 days. This is what your focus is going to be. All right. And I will see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. And until then, I'll see you on text messages. I'll see you in the comments. And as always, so grateful for each and every one of you. And I will see you back here next week. Have a great week.